All right. Welcome back. So, as you guys know, I've been working on a Superman freaking video, right? Superman review. But here's the problem. I have to keep watching that crappy movie. And it's depressing. But regardless, I have to watch it. And it got me thinking about the the problem with the DC itself. Now, a lot of people think like, oh, it was like we tend to backtrack, right? Where oh, Zack Snyder wasn't the guy for the job, and dude, at the time, he was. Like I think we forgot when Man of Steel was coming out. The rumor was that we were gonna get Christian Bale as Batman, and then that was gonna be integrated into the universe, which would have made sense. In a way, it would have made sense. Like I think, like we would have been okay with it, but it's also because Christopher Nolan was holy crap. Anyway, sorry. Christopher Nolan was executive producer or a producer on Man of Steel, and like he had everything going for him. Hans Zimmer did the score. It just was a garbage script, and he was the right man for the job, per se. Like he did The Watchmen, and he did, um, and that was like a DC movie, and it wasn't just DC. Watchmen, he was able to do it right, but it that is a difficult comic to adapt. Like The Watchmen isn't for everybody, man. Like it can be pretty complicated. If you read the comics, I read them like maybe once. Didn't really care too much for it, but whatever. Now, the big issue that with DC was everything that we got and how confusing it was. Like there are some things that weren't explicable, like why did Aquaman make $1 billion and then we got Aquaman 2? You know, we got Blue Beetle for some freaking reason. And that's currently canon. That's not done away with. We have Birds of Prey, and we forgot that like there was canceled projects too, where Michael Keaton was supposed to show up in a Batgirl project, and I think practically everybody's already forgotten about that. And it's my job to remind you that that was a thing. You could go look at the pictures. Like, there's not even record. Like, you can't even like pirate and like look for it in anywhere. They went scorched earth on how bad that was. Now, the I get it. They screwed up and they were trying to rectify some things, but like they didn't understand what they had, and it is embarrassing. Like think about Marvel. They were able to pull off the MCU, and let's just say Phase One. Let's just keep it simple. Phase One, a successful Phase One to the Avengers, but they didn't have the rights to all their like the big hitters. Like you got Spider-Man, Fantastic Four. I would say was above any of the Avengers. They didn't have Daredevil. They didn't have the X-Men. You know, like they didn't have the top Marvel characters. Like they had Hulk, which was very well known, and you could thank the TV show for that, and the and some of the comics, but usually he wasn't. He was a Defenders hero. Now they were able to get, and Iron Man was like a C-list character. He wasn't. I like Iron Man, but I was never the biggest fan of Iron Man. I'm like, oh, that's cool, and then that's it. Like it wasn't. It's not as big as Robert Downey Jr. made him to be, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So you take the MCU and you're like, damn, they There were Marvel movies. It wasn't going well in terms of making a universe because that was a plan. When we got X-Men, we Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four movies, and possibly Blade, but it was actually and David Banner's Hulk that was supposed to all start coming in to like this big team up, and there was like a rumor that the Ultimate Alliance video game was like when it launched, it was a way to like test the waters of how much people would actually like a team up through the video game medium, which I don't really buy it, but it would in in a way make sense. But the video game industry is so different and so much bigger that it's it's not really gonna help any company gauge what the fans are interested in unless they all go on some forum like YouTube, which people weren't really commenting or talking or creating YouTube channels all the time back then. But we but Warner Brothers has had DC for a good 50 years. You know what I mean? Like and it's embarrassing the state that they're in. They don't know how to man. They don't know how to really approach it. They keep making trilogies. You got the Dark Knight, and then well, they didn't keep making trilogies, but they kept making some crappy movies, and it was always like crappy or really good movies. Like you got Catwoman with Halle Berry, terrible, and then you got Christian Bale, Batman. First two movies great, third one massive drop. Then you got Man of Steel. Okay, starting from Man of Steel on, you got the DC universe. I think the first announcement after Man of Steel was Batman v Superman. And then we already knew that it was going to head to the Justice League. We got the announcement of Batman v Superman, and yeah, it made almost $1 billion, but it was historically one of the biggest drop-offs. I don't know if it was the second or third week, but people went and watched the first time and then realized it was a garbage movie, and then nobody else wanted to watch it anymore. Then we got Wonder Woman, and that was well received, and it's a garbage movie. It is terrible. Okay. And I think from there, did we have anything in between? Like the first Suicide Squad movie, maybe? And then we got Josh Whedon's. And I'm not going to go into everything that happened, but I think it's important to go over a little bit of Zack Snyder's plans. Like, his plan was, one, to make Wonder Woman a Kryptonian, and then have a Martian Manhunter movie explaining the next few movies after that of what happens with Kryptonians, something like that, what happens to the universe with the parademons. And then he was going to make Superman die, and then Lois Lane and Bruce Wayne start banging. Then they have a baby, and then Batman dies, and then Superman is now raising Bruce Wayne's baby. Like, this is something you could go look up, and it was his storyboard. It was his plan, and it was retarded. So, yeah, I have no idea what their process is on how to write a universe or write stories. But it's like, I don't know why it was so difficult to write a Superman story. And that's why James Gunn's Superman was so important into rebooting this universe. It was supposed to solidify the new DCEU. And where he screwed up was trying to bring in characters from a different universe, or retconning one universe but bring characters from the Snyderverse, and then random like Blue Beetle that nobody had anything to do with, just some off-brand director, I guess. I don't know. And so he brings in Blue Beetle. Then he brings in John Cena, which was in the universe where they had Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker and Harley Quinn. And so even though it's a different universe, he still has all those memories. So he's gonna know certain things. It's gonna be a mess. It's already is a mess. Superman movie. It's so badly written. It for some reason has all these explicit lines of like the character talking to the camera. I know they don't do the whole like they're talking all of a sudden they do that bull crap, but they practically could have just been like right now the character, the engineer, looking at the camera and saying, yeah, I gave up my humanity so that this could happen. Like, what the freak? Like, Lex already knows that. Like, why are you telling me? Like, it's one of the worst exposition dumps I've ever freaking seen. It is pretty damn terrible. Like, I'm all for exposition, but it's got to be done right. The dialogue has to have its purpose. You have to explain it to somebody who has no idea. Like, why did you do this? And it gives a backstory, makes it interesting. Now, I'm not gonna go into the comics where like the engineer. I think her first appearance was in '99, and it was just like an off thing. Nobody really cared about it because it was her mentor who was the original engineer, and it wasn't. I wouldn't say it's a gender swap or one of those like passing on the mantle. They did it decent, where the engineer, he had the technology, he died, and then his pupil, this chick, finds his work and then kind of amplifies it, and she takes it upon herself like maybe he left this for me and I should progress his work, and then she became the engineer that you kind of see in this movie. And she's a terrible actress, man. Freaking awful. I don't know. Maybe she's one of those chicks that just did some favors for James Gunn, dude, and that's how she got the job. Like, while his wife is boning John Cena, she's going out and doing some other stuff. Like, I love John Cena. No hate to him. He's an actor. But, like, if you're a director and you're like, I'm going to put my wife in a scene where I have to watch her have sex with a guy who's way better looking than me, way more talented than me, and has no purpose just for having a sex scene. Like, you wrote that, man. You made that choice. That is freaking weird. I don't know if you guys get off on doing that. That's freaking pathetic. But it's freaking Hollywood. There's Hollywood, baby. No rules. They should start doing cocaine, though. That would help out quite a bit of their storytelling. If he was on drugs, if James Gunn was on hard drugs and did an interview while he was on hard drugs, I'd be like, I could trust this guy writing the DC universe. And here's the problem. You got Marvel guys coming to DC who understand that Marvel is the world outside your window. It is, you can very much get into the politics and the nuance of like combining what currently happens in the world to the comics, which it needs to be a specific blend. It can't just be like, all right, Donald Trump's president, so we're going to make Donald Trump the president in this universe. Like, no, you can make a president of multiple different personality types, and then that's that. Like, just that's a simple whatever. But you're not supposed to bring in your politics to it. And again, one of my mind is getting all jumbled. But then you go to Gods and Monsters, and that is what the DC universe is. Like, I'm a much bigger fan of the DC universe, so I'm very critical of it because it needs to be perfect. It does, like, it's, and when I say perfect, I really mean perfect. Like, you got Superman. How is it that we made a better Superman 50 years ago than anything that has come after? Like, I personally like, I'd say I enjoy Superman Returns. There's great scenes in it. pretty garbage movie. Pretty terrible movie. And I still prefer that over Man of Steel and this. Like, it's boring. It takes a while. But it's like, as a comic book fan, Brandon Routh made you feel like he was Superman, even though he didn't talk much. There were certain things I don't like. Like, here's something. I'm a massive Superman fan. Here's something that the original creators intended him to be. Pretty much an angel. Like, as close to perfection as a human would be. One thing that always bothered me, and it's not because of religious belief, it's not because of like how, like, because I'm a prude or something, but when like, one of the things that confused me and some of my friends that were really into Superman was that he had a kid with Lois without being married. And I even had that issue with Smallville. And it might seem like a small issue, but he's what we're supposed to strive for. Somebody who has a lot more control. Like he wouldn't have sex outside of marriage. And I know it's very old school thinking and whatnot, but that's what Superman is. Like, he grew up on a farm, and he holds himself to the highest of standards. Absolutely the highest of standards. So he's not going to just get with anyone that he falls in love with. He's going to be committed 100% first. And then have that stuff happen. And Lois Lane is not the opposite, but she's very much of the world. And so, like, in Smallville, she points out to Clark, like a woman has needs or whatever. And I don't know if he's like, I need to rewatch it, but he wasn't really in control that much. But he slept with Lana because he transferred some of the Superman powers to her on accident or something like that. But anyways, like, he missed the mark on the innocence factor, the purity of Superman. They're also Kryptonian. Like, Supergirl, calling him the B word at the end of the movie makes zero freaking sense. And even when he is another exposition dump at the end of the damn movie, saying like, oh yeah, she likes to party in other worlds because they don't have the yellow sun, and therefore she gets drunk. It's like, why wouldn't the robots not know that? Why is he telling the robots? Like, if Mr. Terrific was in the Fortress of Solitude, like, maybe he could explain that to him. He's like, oh yeah, because we get our power from the red sun, it also prevents us from getting drunk. So she goes somewhere where there isn't red suns. Okay, cool. But there's nobody to explain that to. And also, if you get your power from the yellow sun, wouldn't, as soon as she's in close to planet Earth, she just starts sobering up? As soon as she has vision of the yellow sun, she would just sober up completely. Like, why is she drunk in the Fortress of Solitude? And it's daylight out. That's insane. That was also retarded. Like, Superman, like, James Gunn's universe is done. It is over. Like, there's nothing that can fix it. It doesn't even matter if they make a perfect Batman movie. Let's say we get 2 perfect Batman movies. One from James Gunn's universe, which is a different director, because it's impossible for James Gunn to do Batman even halfway perfect. And then we get Matt Reeves' Batman, which, as much as I don't like Robert Pattinson as Batman, it's most likely going to be a decent movie. At least probably it's going to be a 5.5 out of 10. I would usually say 6 out of 10 because that's what the Batman was. It was a 6 out of 10. And yeah, like, even if we get 2 good Batman movies, it's like, okay, well, we can't care about it because we don't know which Batman is of what universe. And even if it's like Matt Reeves' Batman is successful and the other one is also successful, then you split the fandom and there's no investment. There's no investment of why we're going to be following these characters because the Superman sucks. Like, nothing in the movie made sense, man. And like, I will be breaking it down, but it is quite the garbage movie. Damn, it's freaking hot in here. I don't know what is going on in Florida. There was like a heat wave or something. I don't know, but it's hot. And so, the future of the DC, the only way I see them fixing it is literally doing an entire campaign of an animated series, doing a whole new animated series, and then going and making a new Superman with a whole new cast, new director, new direction completely. And if that doesn't hit, then you have to wait like 30 years. Because they used up all their cards. So Zack Snyder, Batman v Superman, it almost made $1 billion. It should have, like, for Batman and Superman to be in the same movie and not be the biggest movie in the world. Superman is the most recognizable superhero. It doesn't matter if Spider-Man's sales are higher. It doesn't matter if Batman's sales are higher, which they both are. When you hear Superman, only one word is being replaced from superhero, is man. So super is automatically, you ask any kid, no matter what they were raised, you like Superman? And they have an answer yes or no. It's not like, I don't know what that is. You know what I mean? Like, they know the symbol, the colors. Like, you know who Superman or what this thing is. It doesn't matter if you're a fan or not. Throughout the world, he's one of the most recognizable characters in history. And so then you put him to possibly the second or at least the third most recognizable superhero in comic book history. And to the normies. Let's say you never read a comic book in the DC universe in your life. You're a Marvel fan, diehard. You never even watched a DC movie. You know what Batman is, and you know what Superman is. Maybe you'll wonder who Wonder Woman is. Maybe you'll confuse Wonder Woman with Superwoman or Supergirl. Maybe. But Superman is so freaking iconic, and then with Batman, even if you never read a comic, just seeing them in the animated series, doing a movie, the movie where they come together, and Lex and Joker teaming up, and then it's not even a team up with Superman and Batman. It's more of like Batman is trying to stop the Joker, and the Joker is trying to cut a deal that will also stop Superman. So therefore, Superman is in the story, and they actually made it a good story where both characters fit in the story. And this is a freaking cartoon. And you've had years, and you have all, the Warner Brothers has had all this freaking experience and content to pick from, Zack Snyder specifically, and they gave us what they gave us, which was a cluster of moronic creative molestation. It was absolutely and utterly retarded. So you screw that up. That was a once in a lifetime, once in a lifetime ticket you could cash in. It didn't matter how good the movie was. You knew that was gonna make money, but it could have been the best. Like, Endgame wouldn't have been able to touch it. Do you understand? Like, if they came out with one more Man of Steel movie and actually kind of retconned it a little bit, cleaned up the color palette, and made him look kind of like Henry Cavill kind of look like the end of Black Adam, where we see the different color. If they did that and then made a good Batman movie, just a solid simple Batman movie, and maybe we get the death of Robin in that movie. And then going into Batman v Superman, taking Wonder Woman out of the equation, not making Lex a pussy, and I guess you could put Doomsday in. Nah, you should take him out. Just do something different, okay? And definitely not cast Jared Leto as Joker. That was insane. If you were to do that, and then the movie was at like halfway decent, you would have got at least $1.8 billion out of Batman v Superman, at the very least. Possibly 2.4, 2.3. Like, that would have been a pretty easy cash grab if you just wrote it properly, if you led up to it, if you allowed the fans to really like feel that, ferment in the hype. Like, the second Superman movie makes some instance of like talking about Gotham, and then we get the Gotham movie of Batman, and then maybe even a second Batman where it leads up to the end of the second Man of Steel movie, which or the first Man of Steel movie, where he's starting to prepare, and then you can even do the whole dumb branding thing, because he's like kind of lost hope, and you could kind of take it that Dark Knight route, which I still don't recommend. I still don't think it's a good idea. I'm not the biggest fan of that comic. It's a good comic. It's a one-off, and that's it. You should not incorporate it into any universe. Like an Injustice timeline, maybe. I've always hated when they made Bruce Wayne older and then he's just a failure. Like, Gotham still sucks. Everything still sucks. Even though I love Batman Beyond, it's like, Batman, he didn't win. Crime is still rampant in Gotham. Like, Bruce Wayne, Batman would not... I don't believe he would allow that to happen. I believe he would accomplish his mission. He is more dedicated than any other hero inside the DC universe. That's why I also have a problem when in Batman Beyond, when he refuses the Lazarus Pit, like halfway through the procedure where Ra's or Ra's al Ghul is trying to take over his body, and after he took Talia al Ghul's body. So I just never believed that he would freaking just stop the process and wouldn't go back to his youth. But nevertheless, that's how they wrote that damn movie. Now, you cashed in that chip. You cashed in that check. Boom. It's not as much as you wanted, not as much as anybody expected. Man, I don't know what is going on with the freaking CPU of this BS internet system. I don't know. Sorry if the live stream is freaking lagging every now and then. Pisses me off. But, okay. Batman v Superman. That's done. What do we get? A crappy Wonder Woman movie. With one of the worst actresses you could have chosen for Wonder Woman. She's charismatic, great smile, kind of good looking. Like, not a good actress. Can't carry nothing. Then we get Joss Whedon's Justice League. Way too rushed. We didn't get any other characters movie. Like, we got an Aquaman movie after the fact. We got a crappy... You picked the wrong person to be Flash. And I guess... I've always preferred Wally West over Barry Allen. So, you could have killed him off in the second movie and just introduced Wally West, because who gives a crap about Ezra Miller? And that universe at that point's already effed. So, now, like, the first Flash movie has been created. after all this. The first Justice League movie has been created after all that. These are other checks that you cashed in that people have been waiting for. More so than Avengers. Ever. Like, we always wanted to see a Batman and Superman team up. We've always wanted to see... Like, you can't tell me that Marvel fans were always wanting to see a Defenders or Avengers movie. Maybe when the cartoons came out, but DC is what started superhero media. Like in movies, in TV shows, cartoons, DC is the one that did it the best and usually did it first. Marvel did the animation first. X-Men animated series, solid. Okay? Give them credit on that. But, man, like to this day, like, DC does do some good animated movies. I was watching an animated movie. It's the Sons of Batman and Superman. I don't know if that's the actual title. It was an alright movie. Not too bad. I can't show it to my kids because they cuss. The heroes cuss. This is a problem. James Gunn doesn't know what the freak to do. You got freaking Green Lantern flipping all these tanks and whatever, flipping them off. And then these... Like, this is a Superman movie, man. If you wanted to make a rated R Guy Gardner movie, and I know it's PG-13, and it's... They could do it, they could get away with it, but not in a Superman movie. Good Lord, like, the theme of Superman needs to reign throughout the entire movie. And we get a sprinkle of Superman, then whatever version of Guy Gardner that we're getting, which was okay. Mr. Terrific, solid. Like, pretty decent performance. The only thing that bothered me was he wasn't jacked. Like, he should have been roided out to the gills. Like, he was way too skinny. Hawkgirl was trash. She was at nothing and also bad actress. I don't get the whole race swap. I don't get the whole crappy outfit. Like, granted, I know Hawkgirl never had that great of an outfit in the comics and in the animated series. But I prefer the animated series where it's just like freaking, leggings and a yellow shirt. That's better than a freaking super thick motorcycle jacket. Like, and when does she yell like a hawk? Like, maybe it's me. I don't remember that happening. Maybe I just never paid attention to the comics that well when I was reading her. I don't know, but I just don't remember that. Or maybe it was just the first time I saw it and it kind of took me off guard. Anyways, you took out like the innocence and the purity that Superman brings to the table. You know what I mean? Like, why do this? Why make Superman less important in his own story? Make him a loser. Make him selfish. He's selfless when he's talking. And then he's selfish by himself. Like, it's so weird. They did, like, he has like a different personality. Like, maybe not a different personality. He gets too hyped up into his emotions. Like, I don't understand why he wouldn't go out and help the Justice Gang when he was talking to Lois. It's like, yeah, but you're Superman. No matter what's going on with you, if you see a threat, you're not. It doesn't matter if they don't need your help. It's in your city. You're there. You have time. You're gonna go do it. The main conflict of Superman is he can't be everywhere at once. Even Zack Snyder understood that and made it a theme in Batman v Superman, which sucks. Still sucks. Doesn't matter if he understood something. He understood Superman. How Zack Snyder, one of the worst Superman writers ever, understood Superman better than James Gunn. And that's the guy you guys hired to freaking do the DC universe. This is some bull crap, man. Like, when I read the freaking comment of somebody commented on one of my shorts where I was wearing a Superman shirt, and I talked like 2 seconds about how James Gunn, like I hated James Gunn's Superman. And we went through it a little bit, and I just last comment I was like, just tell me one thing this Superman has done better than every other Superman that ever came before, animated series, everything, because he was on gun dick, dude, and he didn't do anything. He didn't say anything that made sense. He didn't say anything that changed my mind. He just stopped commenting, and it's like, all right, there you go, because there is nothing that he did better than any other movie that came before. He didn't do anything better. The acting wasn't better. Like, the standout performances was Mr. Terrific and Lois Lane, and I'd say like Lois Lane barely. Jimmy, actually, I liked. I think he acted very much like a Jimmy. I like that actor as Jimmy. Because usually he just plays a loser in most roles, and this is the first time I saw him like the sidekick, confident dude that, like, I don't know. It was a little different when I see that actor. I have so many thoughts. I want to do a breakdown, but I have no idea about the copyright stuff because I wanted to put it here and just literally go through every damn scene because there's so many issues with the freaking movie. There's an insane amount of issues with the Superman movie. And so it failed now, okay? It's a flop. I think if you adjust Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman for inflation, it's like $2.3 billion that movie actually made. Therefore, you have an audience that watched it 4 to 5 times more than an audience that watched this Superman. Because it's the butts and seats. It's not really the dollar amount anymore because of inflation. It's really hard. Like, Endgame, if you look at it, it's the number one movie that did the best in history. It's not. I think it's still Gone with the Wind. But, it must be Gone with the Wind. Because I think that adjusted for inflation, it's like 14 billion or something. I don't know. Something crazy. When Superman movie came out, it was embarrassing to be part of something comic book related. When Christopher Reeve came on as Superman, he didn't get paid very much compared to other actors, especially Marlon Brando. That psychotic piece of garbage. It was revolutionary. You know, like, we got Superman on screen. My dad knew Superman. Is the one that introduced me to Superman. I don't think he's ever read a Superman comic till this day. So and it was almost like a movement. And I wasn't there for it. I wish I was. My dad told me that. And this was in Brazil. This was not here. People made like fake Superman shirts, hats. Like people would talk about it. Okay? And then you get Star Wars, then you get 89 Batman. Which is a 10-year difference in movies. But you had that and you nailed it the first time. Then you got the theatrical cut and then people were like, all right, Superman 2 is okay. Then, you got the other two. And then the Donner cut was eventually released, and then you saw how great Superman 2 actually was. 50 years. And the only time we did Superman right was in TV shows. Even though Smallville kind of... I don't think it went too long. I think they lost their direction too early. I would say it probably sucks for the directors when they have a very much like a storyline written And as much as I love the actor for um, Lex Luthor, like he did leave because he thought like that was kind of like the end to his character or what they could do with Lex. And it sucks if the directors made an actor feel that way, but it also sucks when the actor just kind of dips because of a contract here and there. Not to say that I didn't enjoy the things that came after, but when you have to change up the story, like through a tragedy, is like the worst way. Like I think that's why we got a crappy Dark Knight Rises movie, because Heath Ledger's Joker was supposed to be a big part, and he didn't want to recast, so he had to change the story completely. No, it sucks, but it happens. And the TV shows are the only times since Christopher Reeve we've done it right. Even though Brandon Routh, he looked like Superman. My wife calls him the handsome Superman. Like she wants to watch him as Superman more than anybody else. I think it's also because Man of Steel just wasn't. It was always dark. Like you can't you can't put on that movie during the day, and you have to like turn off everything and brighten up your TV to even watch that stupid movie. It's so gay, dude. But you got it, okay? You got the Man of Steel movie, and we haven't been able to do it right since. And this was the start of a universe. So, how the freak do you F up Batman and Ben Affleck as Batman? A perfect casting. You effed up a perfect casting. And this is all Warner Brothers to blame. It's not just Zack Snyder. They let him have his vision, unsupervised. That is not a good thing all the time. Like, one of the people that I would say, one of the only two directors, and even they are not perfect, that you should leave them to their own devices is usually Christopher Nolan, and then at the top, Guillermo del Toro. He's probably, if you leave him alone, and I would say Sam Raimi. Those are the top three. Those directors, because they love what they're doing, so they're gonna put everything they can into it. And then other directors, they need a direction, man. Like, I just don't want to keep repeating the same thing. Like Rian Johnson directed great things before because others kept him in line, and then you gave him The Last Jedi and he effed that up. Zack Snyder, I don't think he's written anything good since, which one came first, 300 or The Watchmen? But since those two movies, I don't think he's written anything good. He hasn't directed anything that was remotely, like, even halfway decent. It all sucked. I keep forgetting that Rebel Moon is a thing. But okay. Now, James Gunn is the head of the universe, and yeah, after his first flop, because it's Superman. He's not complicated. It's easy to write Superman. When you live, I guess, in the world, as you'd say, when you are a part of Hollywood for too long, it almost becomes impossible to write Superman. Even though he was created by Jewish dudes, he's very much like a Christian character. And if you ain't a Christian dude, like, it's going to be really hard to grasp Superman. Not that it's impossible. Actually, it wouldn't be hard, but if you're doing things that Superman would never do, and you live the way James Gunn lives, yeah, Superman is going to be hard for you to grasp. I've always said this: the best way to introduce a Superman story is you first got to pick his villain. If you're gonna go with Lex, the first story you should do is Metallo. Him involving in the military, using Metallo. That's the big bad against Superman. It's not gonna be crazy destruction. Most of the movie, you're going to see Superman saving people, maybe getting involved in military situations, and then realizing that Metallo and Lex is part of it. But then at the end of the movie, you make Lex win. Lex needs to win a lot. Because also to write a Superman movie, you need to understand his villains, the intellectual villains. And Lex is the main one. He's the smartest man on the planet and one of the most intelligent minds considered in the universe. His problem is his ego and his obsession over Superman. Okay? Because he has the intellectual power. And depending on the comic, some comics he wants to be worshipped by the people. Other comics, usually the better ones, he cares also about humanity. In a way. I've always liked when they wrote where Lex is more of like a tyrant, but he cares about humanity in his own psychotic way. Then like he wants to rule the world and just be a ruler. Like he, I don't know. I think the story needs to be so simple that it should stay in Metropolis, and then yeah, like they had a decent idea with Gun Superman in terms of like, okay, they didn't use the term once, truth, justice, and the American way, which would have solidified why they consider him a U.S. citizen. Because they consider like because he only speaks English, you already assume he's from the United States. So I don't know if the world knows he's 30 years old, but the audience knows he's 30 years old. Okay, if there's any meteor showers, depending on what kind of satellites they had at the time, how is it all working out? You know? Now, if you're going to keep up, and again, it's not supposed to be the world outside your window. So it shouldn't be 2025 when we watch Superman. We don't even have to have a year attached to it. It's just that's the year, like, and they can mention this year's coming election, whatever, because it's supposed to be a different time. I really like in Smallville that the idea was that they sent a spaceship to Jor-El was worried about the progression of Krypton, or maybe even Brainiac, and then he went and scouted planets and came across Jonathan and Martha Kent and found that they were really, really good people. And they were already raising a good son, and that, if anything, he wanted Clark to be raised by them or his kid. Which was, I thought it was great. I didn't have any issues with that. So, now this isn't a gun review of Superman, but it's more of a critique on what he thinks needs to be in a Superman movie. It needs to be innocent and pure. You mean to tell me, like you shouldn't see Superman, like the first thing you see Superman do when he's like all healed up is go and make out with Lois. Like, if anything, Lois should be, or coming in, like, Superman was so selfish that like Clark Kent used Superman to progress his career. Like, if anything, like, he's not worried about his damn career. He's worried about helping people. And then they make him worry about helping people. But then she also has to point out that you never, like, Clark is always the one that's interviewing him. Like, you're also not the one supposed to be defending Superman either. You know what I mean? Like, he even gets jealous of Superman when Lois likes Superman. At least in my favorite comic series and the animated series. And even in Smallville. Dude. It makes my head hurt. Okay. The next thing that's coming. Green Lanterns. We're not hearing good things about it. I don't know what they're going to do. Metamorpho. All his screen time, almost perfect, by the way, in that movie. I don't know what they plan to do with Guy Gardner. I really don't. Because if Jon Stewart is replacing Hal Jordan in the series, but Guy Gardner's domain is pretty much the Milky Way galaxy, specifically Earth, then Jon Stewart would be in a different sector, because that means Hal Jordan is also working in a different sector. So either Hal Jordan's gonna die, and then we're gonna get like their little team up in the first few episodes. Hal Jordan's gone, or at least not in the show no more, and then we follow Jon Stewart. No problem with that. I just don't know. Like, this is the one thing that James Gunn might be able to do. Again, he should leave the crude stuff out of it. Like, it isn't just that there's Kryptonians and their dialogue needs to be specific. Even Bruce Wayne, even with his pent-up rage, because of how he was raised and the control he needs to maintain, he would never cuss. Like, what happened to heroes acting heroic off and on the suit, and then villains being a villain? Was it Invincible, where there was all the copies of the one dude, and he's like cussing away, and then the other version of him is like, cussing doesn't make you cool, bro. Like, yeah, it just makes no sense. Like, take it out completely in the DC for a time, at least. Like here's a statistic nobody likes to acknowledge. The most profitable movies consistently are G-rated movies. Those are the most profitable movies. Not saying Superman needs to be G-rated, but keep that in mind when you're writing not only Superman, but superhero movies. It's a good thing to keep in mind so that you can focus on the story, not trying to be adult funny. Think about it this way. What's the bigger audience, a family or a couple? Superman is a superhero movie. He's a superhero. So if you think about this back in the day, where a family is going to the movie theater and they're deciding which movie they're going to watch, okay? Let's just think about it. If they got kids and they see a superhero movie, they're going to be like, mommy, daddy, please, Superman. Let's go watch Superman. Cool. They're going to go watch Superman. So let's say they just have one kid, maybe let's say 2 kids. Let's average out 2 kids per family. That's 4 movie tickets, at least 2 adult and 2 kids. If they have teenagers, just as high of a chance, at least higher than a couple. If you go with your girl out on a date to the movies and you guys are picking a movie, you guys didn't plan on it, you're just picking a movie, most likely you guys are not going to end up watching Superman, because either the girl's going to be in a mood, wants to watch a rom-com, or you're going to want to make out with her, but you also need to pick a movie that you guys are both not going to be that much interested in, and usually only a nerd if you're going to watch Superman. So, and even if you both go watch it, that's only 2 tickets. Okay? It's less people watching, less money in your pocket. So if you keep in mind the family, I want this to be a movie where the family can go and watch. Great. Awesome. Like, Batman Begins isn't a movie where the family can go and watch, but it's like right there though. Like, it got some freaking scary stuff for kids. Terrifying. I would say The Dark Knight completely not for kids because of the Joker. But Batman Begins, you could kind of get away with it. Superman Returns, you can definitely take your family to go watch Brandon Routh's crappy Superman. Christopher Reeves, definitely take your family to watch it. And then, how do fans stay long? The most solid memories a human has is usually from their childhood. The good memories from their childhood, even the bad memories, are the ones that are most solid in the mind. Because it's developed the person of who they are and who they will become. Or have become. And so, if you were a Superman fan as a kid, you most likely will stay a Superman fan as an adult. This is simple. This is simple stuff. Like I don't get, like, you want to make money, you want to make a movie, you want to make a universe, you want it to do well, better than anything. Keep that in mind. Like Iron Man, there is a very quick sex scene. But also the humor was quick, it was witty, and it was very much like realistic. And it wasn't overplayed. It wasn't actually to be funny. It was part of the story. And then you got Thor, and then you got Hulk. And I think Hulk is the other one that had halfway intimate scene as well. And then you got Captain America, which there was like a slight makeout scene. Now, these are, some of you are like, yeah, that's like, you're being ridiculous. Yeah, it could be ridiculous, but guess what? It's superheroes. And Captain America is something I can show my kids, and they could show their kids, and their kids could show their kids. Forever. That one-off movie. You can say what you want about the Captain America movie. I don't think it's perfect. I think the villain isn't fleshed out enough, but that's a Captain America movie. That is Captain America. And it is great. James Gunn's Superman is not Superman. It is not. It's not a Superman movie. It's not appropriate for kids. It is made for adults and tried to get adults, and it's a comedy. A crappy one at that. So the formula is simple for success in terms of cinema. Aim it towards kids by not putting bullcrap in it. Aim it towards families where there is no politics, sides. Like, even James Gunn's brother delivering that line, I think liberals and conservatives can both agree that's already separating the fandom. He should have said something. I think we can, no matter what you believe in, what you think, how different we are, we can all agree Lex is a dirtbag. That's how it should have been said. But you wanted to add some politics in there, talking about liberals and conservatives. Dude. Like, even something as tiny as that, I can't really explain that to my kids. Like, Superman movie needs to be a movie you could take the family. You know? So, here's the formula. Aim it towards the family, because then the parents will be like, all right, I want to show this to my kids. And guess what? If you got kids, you're going to school events, you're going to birthday parties, and you're going to recommend to another family. If you're just a regular nerd, single guy, 18, whatever, and you go to a Superman movie, you're going to recommend it to your friends, but it's just one person. If you are a family man, you're going to recommend it to 5 people automatically. One conversation equals 5 people. Single man, one conversation equals one person. That's how you drive people in. And then if you have a specific humor, like, it's also about being humble. James Gunn, if he was humble, which we know he's not, he would have brought somebody in who thought very differently than he did, that loved Superman more than he did. And he would give him a little bit more freedom, and then they would work together. And he would not take all the credit, and it wouldn't be the Gunn Superman. It would just be Superman. Because this is very much James Gunn Superman. I bet I bet the studio just said make it PG-13. But I bet if the studio was like, dude, you should make it really mature, he would have taken it overboard, man. Just completely on the other side of the fence. Like, you do that. You get good writers, stay humble, aim it towards the family. You have the absolute perfect movie. There's movies that don't do well at the box office that stand the test of time, that becomes a cult classic. And that would make sense even if you wrote a good movie and it bombed a little bit. But because James Gunn also had all the ammunition in the world. Because how much Zack Snyder screwed up, he could have been like, yeah, like, hey, people don't really trust Warner Brothers right now, and you guys need to understand that. So when I make this movie, maybe there's not a whole lot of people that will watch it because they don't know what movie to trust. Like, unfortunately, the Black Adam movie came out, and then we fired Henry Cavill, and I didn't handle it the right way. You know, like, you kept souring the fan base, you kept splitting the fan base. And so, like, and even though a lot of it was your fault, you still had, like, if you wrote a good movie and it didn't do well, the fans would have said it. At least when people would look up reviews, like executives look at this stuff, man. They're starting to look at YouTubers. They're starting to go beyond the critics. And then they're going to be like, all right, well, like, every kid I talk to loves the Superman movie. Every parent I talk to loves the Superman movie. Why didn't it do so well at the box office? And then there's different factors. Hey, maybe the marketing wasn't good. Maybe most theaters didn't show it. Maybe most theaters are way too expensive at this point. Maybe we released it while people are looking for jobs. Like, it could be a lot of different factors. But with the amount of money this movie made and how garbage it is, it shows that people were willing to spend the money. People, I haven't heard. Yeah, and here's the thing about nerds. They'll go watch it 4 times at a movie theater if it's a great movie. Like, if it's a great movie, dude, or even a movie that you just loved to death. Like, Michael Bay's Transformers is not a well-written movie, but it was an amazing movie. You know what I mean? My brother went to the theaters like 4 or 5 times to watch that thing. Every weekend, he's like, yeah, well, let's go watch Transformers, man. Like, with his buddies, to the point where his buddies are like, we're not going to go freaking watch Transformers. We've already seen it twice. He's like, yeah, but I've seen it 4 times, and I need to watch it one more time before it's out of theaters. And then he even tried to convince us to go to the dollar theater after it was already out on DVD to go watch the damn thing. Like, that's how much we love this stuff. We'll spend the money, man. Like, if a ticket costs $10, imagine one person spending $100 on tickets just for himself. Boom, man. That's quite a big difference. Watching it 10 times. I don't know anybody that's watched a movie 10 times in theaters, but you have a higher chance. if you please the fans, if you guys got all this content, all this source material, and you guys don't know what to do with it. You guys barely even read it. You don't even look at it. Like, I was willing to forgive that garbage motorcycle suit. I wanted to go in and watch it as a fan, as just like, I'm gonna get Superman, even though I don't like the suit. I didn't like Henry Cavill's suit when I saw the pictures, but it kind of grew on me a bit. It was a different take. Like, I was like, okay, maybe I like the dark red. It's different, but it's not like super hopeful. And then part of it was because he was so freaking yoked by Dawn of Justice. Is it Dawn of Justice or Batman v Superman? Whatever, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. I don't care. That like I was at least seeing them on screen was cool, even if it's like that's not really how Superman would act. That's not how like Batman isn't that stupid. Like, you got the suits right, you got the actors right, and then you just effed it. And that's what they did here. You didn't get the suit right, but the actor, like, I could see, like, oh yeah, he does have some chops, man, but he didn't convince me as Superman. And every flight scene was freaking weird, man. It was whack. I didn't get it. The CGI hair was off. There was a scene that I didn't pause it, but I looked at it because like he went to frame and it's also almost like his head was off to the side and it came back center, and I was like, what happened there? What the freak is going on? Like, there's a lot of CGI in that movie. A lot of stupid things that when I do a review on it, you guys will hear it. But yeah. Again, the formula is simple. You go back to its roots. You can even do it by numbers, like what comics sold the most. Okay, go off those stories. What are the things that people talk about? Go off that. What are the things that people absolutely hated? Don't freaking do that. And then keep it pure. Go back to basics, to simple, where comics were innocent. I'm not saying to do that with the Punisher. I'm not saying to do that with Blade, with Deadpool. Okay? I'm not saying to do that. Okay? But I'm saying keep Superman, Superman, Batman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. Like, I want to see stuff with the Joker. I want to see, but I don't want to see is the fan fiction stuff where you make Harley Quinn a freaking lesbian and Poison Ivy. I don't want that crap. Poison Ivy is very much a villain. And that's that. She's in love with her plants. If anything, she's just a psycho, disgusting creature. Okay? She has no affection for other humans. But that's a different topic. Well, it's the same topic, but a different genre. But like, keep it innocent, man. Well, keep it pure. Maybe not innocent, pure. Superman's really the only one that you gotta add both elements of both. Like, man, like, it's okay to have blood. It's okay to make it PG-13, but not try to put everything up to the point of almost rated R. Like, come on, man. That's my rant for today. There's no future really for the DC universe. Dude, Blue Beetle is canon. Who watched Blue? I didn't even watch Blue Beetle, man. That's canon. Ezra Miller still hasn't been fired officially from being the Flash. They brought back the actor for Aquaman as Lobo. Great casting, awesome. But now we don't even have a head of the DC universe. Since we don't have a head of the DC universe, what the freak are we supposed to care about? What are we supposed to expect? Like, at least Kevin Feige stayed through the whole MCU, and we see his talents, man. We see even the mighty can fall. But like if you put in Christopher Nolan, and I still think the DC is a delicate thing. It's been rebooted to hell and back. You need a team of 6. Okay? You need 3 directors that are solid. I would say Christopher Nolan. He's already done a Batman. Possibly Peter Jackson. Josh Whedon wouldn't be a bad choice. He needs to be tamed. You need to create a team, a Justice League, and then you need 3 great directors, okay, that understand different levels of cinema, purity, nuance, and usually different parts in their lives. This is what I think. And then you need 3 comic book writers that actually care and have written stories. One that's like from the top 3. One that has written Superman comics, one that has written Batman comics, and one that has written Wonder Woman comics. If there's none that written like the good ones, then huge fans, but also are comic book writers that understand at least a villain of that character. Because sometimes those who create villains for a hero, they understand the hero more than the guy who wrote that hero in that comic line. And that's the truth. So you got to get writers, and then you got to get directors, and all of them have to work together and fight amongst each other so that all the best ideas get in the movie. And they all need to be a part of it. If you're going to make a universe, if you're just going to do a one-off movie, like you still got to have somebody taming the thing. You can't just like send it off to the guy you think who's going to do it best and they've never done it before. Like Bryan Singer. Let's see, you get Josh Whedon, you get James Gunn, you get Bryan Singer, all guys who wrote good Marvel stuff, and you just threw them in a superhero bracket. DC is different, man. It's better. It's 1,000,000 times better than Marvel. And I love Marvel. But DC is better, dude. It needs way more respect than Marvel does. And he brought in Marvel guys who, know how to write Marvel. Has read Marvel, probably. And all of them crap the bed, dude. Josh Whedon, garbage Justice League. The Bryan Singer, Josh Whedon, Great Avengers, garbage Justice League. Decent Ultron. Bryan Singer, X-Men 1 and 2, solid. Crapped on Superman. James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, even number 3. And then crapped on Superman. Crapped on the whole universe, actually. So, stop hiring Marvel dudes. And if you're going to hire Marvel dudes because they did a good job, hire somebody that's DC. You got directors for the animated series or the animated movies that you make, and you don't even consider them? You don't consider them at all? This is insane. Gosh, man, it's so freaking easy. Like, I don't know how Warner Bros. Could be such a retarded company. It is mind-blowing. But yeah, that's it for this late night stream. Let me see if there was any topics. Nah, I mainly just want to talk about that, really. There was like a couple movies I had in mind that I wanted to talk about, but that could be for another day. Yeah. And the only reason I don't have a whole lot of DC merch is because most of my like jujitsu gear is DC, where it's just Batman and Superman. But I have like, you see the Lego Spider-Man over there, and then Green Goblin shirt. Back is even cooler. Hell yeah. But yeah, man, I need to make a Superman shirt. Who knows? When Superman goes into the public domain, maybe we'll get a ton of great Superman movies, and then the Warner Bros. Will see that everybody else is a lot more intelligent than their freaking retarded butt. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. Have a good night.